What's up, Descendants, and welcome back to another First Descendant video. Today we're going to go over the dev notes that have been published earlier on today, the dev notes 6, and a little bit of a new format for the channel today. You get to see my face rather than just on a live stream. I thought I would try this new format going forward for things like this, news videos, updates, and reaction videos. So let me know your constructive feedback down below in the comments. With all that said, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's have a look at what it is they've had to say. So this is Dev Note 6. I've never covered any of the dev notes for this game before, although I've done quite a lot of content on the beta and previous news and updates. This was really interesting to me because I really enjoyed the last beta phase, the crossplay beta. It was a lot of fun, there was a lot of content on there, and there was a huge amount of updates to the game since I previously played it. Let me know in the comments though down below if you enjoyed it, if you played it, are you looking forward to this? I definitely do find it interesting to see, is my channel actually worth creating content for this, or am I just on my own? So let's go through the notes. So first of all, they talk about the crossplay open beta. Basically it was Xbox, PC and Steam, and that it over 2 million took part in the test. So pretty successful test if you ask me. So let's have a look at the actual key feedback that they got. So first of all, they're going to start off with the missions. And it says, to begin with, we received the most feedback about repetition of missions and underutilization of fields. When they say fields, I think they mean the maps. That's kind of the impression that I get. The current missions and fields were designed with certain intentions by our dev team, but this crossplay open beta test made us recognize an urgent need to improve the gameplay. I'm pretty sure they're getting at the fact that a lot of stuff is repetitive, right? So you went into a new map, you kind of did the same missions just over again, but with a new map and with a new set of different enemies that maybe made you play a little bit differently, but not too different. It's they go on to say let's just catch up where I was. So we're going to make some significant improvements to both the missions and the fields. We'll not only improve the quality of the missions, but we also add necessary features for the co-op play and matchmaking support for the dungeon missions. And most importantly, we'll introduce new contents to the fields to make the gameplay more enjoyable. We'll share more details about this in the future dev notes when it's ready to be revealed. So that sounds like they're on the content grind again. It does sound like they've got a bunch of new content to make just to try and make these new areas a little bit more interesting and to make everything not feel quite as repetitive. I kind of like repetitive nature at the start of a new game. It takes the edge off the learning curve when you're trying to figure out what everything's all about. Too much at once could be a little bit tricky. This game does have a steep learning curve, especially with the mod upgrade system. I think it doesn't really give you very much information on why you should be doing it. And you can kind of get to a point where you think, this is really difficult, I need help. When really, if you just had a good explanation of some of the power upgrade systems in the game, you probably would have still been all right. So hopefully they kind of mean that as well. But actually, just looking at this now, there's prologue and tutorial next, so maybe they mention something along the lines of that for tutorials. Many Descendants had positive things to say about the new prologue and tutorial, which made the difficult decision to revamp the prologue after the last Steam beta test all the more rewarding and worthwhile. It was definitely a step in the right direction. The first time they did the Steam beta, you just got thrown in, you got told absolutely nothing. However, there was also a lot of people who expressed disappointment with the storytelling in conjunction with the repetition of the missions that I mentioned earlier. The dev team is working on several ideas and improvements in this area. And I guess they just got to find that fine balance, right, of making some of these missions more interesting, but also still being able to tell the story, and also just being able to not make that initial learning curve too steep, but still being able to give you enough information to get going. Next, they're going to talk about the UI and the UX. There were numerous comments about the UI and the UX as well. We've made many improvements to them since the last Steam beta test. That is true. They were almost non-existent previously. But we still received a lot of feedback. Accordingly, we're going to make improvements to the controls and visibility, including improvements to the module UI that many have commented about. We're also planning on making the much requested loadout feature. Yes, that is such a good idea. Such a good idea. And it's going to be available at launch. Absolute win. because swapping your mods around and keeping track of them in this game was horrible. It was so horrible. The loadout feature was definitely needed. Absolutely great that they've taken that on board and they're going to put that in for launch as well. Great news. We're also working on improving gamepad controls for console and gamepad users too. I didn't use a gamepad. Let me know in the comments down below if you did, what it felt like. Mouse and keyboard though, it felt pretty great. Shooter play and action. We've also received diverse feedback on the shooter play and action aspects of the game, and we are already really encouraged that many have expressed a high level of satisfaction with the various combat sounds and effects. We're planning on to continue the balancing and combat sound effects and adding more details to increase the quality. In terms of gameplay, there was a lot of complaints and frustrated players due to the difficulty of obtaining ammunition, and I would like to say we're also preparing various improvements for this issue. That's great. So when we did the Steam beta, funnily enough, I never felt like I ran out of ammo, but this time around in the crossplay, whatever it is they've done to change it, I felt like I ran out of ammo a lot, especially if I felt like my build was good enough to take on some of the harder missions a little bit earlier. Things were a little bit more bullet spongy, and although I probably could have managed the mission, ammo became a problem as well. And that's kind of okay to a point where they kind of manage your expectations to the type of content that you are able to do. But if I'm physically powerful enough to be able to do it, my build's good, ammo shouldn't be the one thing restricting me, right? You know, I should be dying because I'm taking too much damage. I shouldn't be able to do enough damage. It should have been a combination of all of these things, not just ammo. So great that they're looking at that as well. Let's have a look. Regarding action, there was a great interest in the completely revamped grappling hook in addition to the parkour. While there was a lot of positive feedback, there was just as many suggestions for improvement. Despite the plentiful feedback on enhancing the action aspect, our dev team are honestly cautious about the balance with the shooter play. Nevertheless, we're testing several radical features to answer our Descendants' requests seriously. We'll decide on this after taking several internal tryouts, so we'll get more to you about it later on. Rad. All right, let's move on to optimization and security. We're also aware of issues with optimization, graphics, quality, and settings. We're already working on specific improvements, so please look forward to them. Finally, we've made it one of our highest priorities to establish measures in response to users using cheating methods during the crossplay open beta test. We apologize once again to our Descendants who had any inconvenience from users who did not play in a fair way. Cheating always sucks, especially in an online game like this where it's a progression-based game, a grindy-based game. You can have things ruined for you. You can jump in, a boss can be one shot, and that should be a difficult fight that maybe you would have cleared for a couple of weeks until you got more powerful, therefore ruining your experience for it. And I guess some people want to shortcut it, and if they do, that's fine if they're only affecting themselves. If they're affecting other people, that kind of spoils the game. So it's kind of great they cheated, because now they get to build hopefully defenses in that it might not happen in the full game. I do think it will happen, unfortunately. That's why I tend to only play with people that I know, people in my Discord I know are all safe. I know they're not going to cheat and do anything to ruin my gameplay experience. So if you want to be one of them people for games like this and games like Division, by all means hop into my community Discord. The link's down below in the description. So it's great really that they've cheated, because they can hopefully patch some of them exploit holes really early on. There are many more development matters that I'd like to talk about, but for today I'll conclude my thoughts on future development directions of the game. I believe that for a looter shooter as a genre, growth elements, motivation to play, and ease of play over a long time are more important than anything else. Correct. Therefore, the dev team will be focusing on strengthening the growth elements to enhance the inherent fun of the looter shooter, buffing the content that allows players to use a variety of characters, and improving the UI and UX to ensure that players aren't frustrated by the repetitive gameplay. Even after the release, we'll continue to address any shortcomings and keep updating the content for our Descendants to enjoy. Great, sounds good. Hopefully they can deliver on that. The crossplay beta test was an invaluable time for our dev team, giving us a good look at what our Descendants enjoyed and what frustrated them, and what the current state of the First Descendant. So we're using all the results of the test as a basis to discuss our future plans. The Descendants and expectations and support for the test have been amazing so far that we're eager to perfect the game even further. And you could see that there was a lot of like people gutted that it went down. People thought it was on full release. It oozed that much quality from the get-go. So that was a very good start for them. As such, we're still discussing heatedly about our release schedule and future plans to improve to implement your feedback for a better quality. We're looking into launch period to be in 2024. Well, it's a whole year. And we'll provide more details about the release schedule in the near future. It's also heartbreaking for us that we could not deliver the exact date that you have been expecting. I don't think they've ever promised a date though, so I'm not sure why they're too heartbroken about it. These kind of things are great, so as long as they keep up with stuff like this, it's going to keep people ticking over for now. The crossplay open beta test was a precious opportunity for our dev team to meet so many descendants, and we'll continue to share improvements, changes, and new features through the community as before. Even though the game isn't available to play right now, so many of you are active, supportive, and engaged in the community and through various channels. In response, we'll continue to make the First Descendant better together. We remain transparent in our communication and listen to your feedback up until the release and after the release too. Thank you very, very much. And they leave us with the open beta highlight video that you can find on their official channel. It's a nice update. It's trying to send a very positive message. It doesn't give too much away. That release of the whole of any time in 2024, a little bit gutting. I do feel like they've probably got a chance of another beta coming soon. It sounds like they really want to bulk up the actual content of the game and not make it too repetitive, especially if it's going to have a big grind for grinding out all them different descendants. They really do need to make it a bit more interesting and not so much repetitive. So they're on the right track. So that's going to be it for this video. I've waffled on way too much. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.